In my defense, I never gave up. You could check the tape on bigup.com for the watch long. I did not give up on Barcelona. Yes, there was some frustrating hyperbole. Yes, there was some feeling that Barcelona could not get out of their own way in this match, but a remontada was on. The comeback kings are there again, and La Liga might just be theirs for the taking. Welcome to episode 681 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blaugrana Podcast Network. I'm Dan Hilton. And what went from a game that I was like, well, I'll get the 5 headlines out soon enough. It'll happen when it happens. Oh, I have to talk about how Barcelona is struggling and why they might have thrown away 3 trophies here in the second half of the season. How quickly do things change in football? If you do want to watch me emotionally go through the ups and the downs, again, please do that on bigup.com. I will have the watch long on Tuesday against Mallorca, and then, of course, the Copa del Rey next Saturday. It's going to be a ton of fun. So please join me for all that on Big Up. Subscribe on YouTube, leave a comment, leave a like. It's a big help. So thanks again so much. Let's dive into the 5 headlines of Barcelona's 4-3, not 3-1 loss, 4-3 win over Celta de Vigo. Headline 1 is Celta's plan to find space. I'm going to start this match review by giving a bit of credit to Celta de Vigo. They're a young team. Yes, results have not been going their way lately, but they had a plan in this match. And I think Lamine Yamal being rested and rotated certainly helped out that plan because they only had to deal with 1v1 situations around that front 3 of Barcelona and even in the attacking midfield with Fermin Lopez. Now, Lamine Yamal was rested here, and maybe conspiracy, Dan, a little bit, does believe that Lamine Yamal may have picked up a knock against Atletico Madrid earlier this month. And I think if it wasn't that match, yes, it's fatigue, sure, but I think either that match or against Borussia Dortmund in that first leg, and I know he came off for Ansu Fati and it was a thing, but I do think that Lamine Yamal is carrying something. And hopefully with this rest today, and yeah, there's already a match again on Tuesday, but hopefully the fatigue is one thing, but hopefully he isn't dealing with something worse. Rafinha, the same thing. I think he picked up a knock on international duty with Brazil. And yes, they said that he needed to be rotated and he was held out when he returned because of fatigue. But I do also think that both of those gents are carrying something that you'd love to be able to rest them for more than just a half or one game. You'd want them to get, I don't know, a few weeks off for vacation, but hey, there's still matches to be played, and you just hope that those two are going to be okay. Getting this started, while Celta did have space, so did Barcelona. In the second minute, here's Fermin Lopez creating something for Lewandowski. He wasn't off by much with this one on the one touch. And Lewandowski, a tough day for him. Yes, he comes off injured in the second half, but he was also getting hacked to bits in the first half. 100 games now for him in a Barcelona uniform, 99 goals. Couldn't make it 100 in 100, so close, but I feel like if he'd played the rest of this match, he would have made it 100 in 100. But Celta, to give them their credit here, they were pressing really well in Barca's half, and the game plan was in 2 phases. They were in a medium block with a high line, bringing those wing backs into a 5-back setup in their own half, with Martin then being forced farther and farther and farther upfield if Barcelona wanted to have possession, which Celta were allowing them to do in that medium block. So as long as Celta and that high line led by Marcos Alonso jumped at the right time, they were in good shape. And I don't think Barcelona were running at them the way they needed to. Well, at least until the 12th minute when Ferran Torres gets our opener. He popped up between the lines. Martin was holding the width, which is what he needed to do. And Torres was running right at Marcos Alonso. I gave Alonso a little bit of credit, but no, he was caught flat-footed here on the first goal. Lewandowski was running off his inside shoulder, and because he decided to hesitate for a moment with Lewandowski, that meant that Ferran got to go right after him and got onto his right foot at the angle he wanted. The keeper probably could have done a little bit better here. I don't know, actually. On second viewing, it was inside the penalty box. He went across the keeper, and it was nice and low and hard. So maybe not. I don't know. You can let me know down in the comments or on social media if you're giving this a listen. But those good vibes for Barcelona did not last long because 3 minutes later, here comes the answer from Celta, something that they seem to have. Celta, they want to have a good mentality, and I thought they did with this answer from Iglesias. Started the move way offside. And this is where we've seen when that high line for Barcelona does fail, is when an opposition player stays offside, sits there, and then jumps back onside and either can get behind the ball or can get behind the man on the cross. And that's exactly what happens here. Chesney should have been off quicker to this. He misread it by mere inches, and this is the difference here. Because while Iglesias was offside, the cross from Pablo Doran against Gerard Martin, Gerard Martin didn't have a good first half. That's true. Definitely found the game better in the second. We'll talk about why. And then the cross does get off. And as I said, Chesney needs to get out here to this ball. But I think Cubarsí didn't want to make contact with Chesney, so he doesn't wind up running through it. And then Iglesias moves back onside behind the ball, and it's an easy finish there for Iglesias, his first of 3. Headline 2 is peaking at the wrong time. This is going to be the most negative one here because this is a bigger question. Yes, Barcelona had a remontada. Yes, they had to come back in the game. But there were worrying signs, so much so in the first half that even with Olmo and Lamine coming on as subs in the second, you do worry that Barcelona, who went through that little dip there around the wintertime, Christmas time period, you wonder if Barcelona did not just peak here in 2025 too early, because now we're talking about 4 matches where Barcelona just haven't been good enough in a row, or let's say 3 matches in a row, because yes, Borussia Dortmund, that first leg, they were absolutely a team that could win the Champions League. They were absolutely one of the best teams in world football in that match. But you do get some worrying signs here when it becomes a larger sample size, which is what the last 2 weeks now have been. And it's simple stuff here. The 3 goals that Barcelona shipped against Celta de Vigo should not have happened. And they had even more worrying signs that weren't just the 3 goals. Celta ended that first half with a higher XG than Barcelona. And my worry is without Balde, systemically, some of the problems that I see. 23rd minute, Iglesias is offside, but Szczesny was also out to meet the cross here, so maybe Szczesny adjusted a little bit. De Jong's role also was kind of confusing to me in this game. I didn't think De Jong, in the course of 90 minutes, had a great game, but I could see what the plan was in the first half. It was to support Pedri, stay close to him as much as possible. And when Barcelona got in trouble, it's when those two got split. And I think that 5-3-2 of Celta de Vigo defending that medium block did a good job of doing that on the counter and getting out and breaking, forcing both of them to either come to the middle or to get out wide. So whichever place that De Jong and Pedri, who were trying to close down that space together, on the opportunities that you could split them, you go down the central channel. And if not, then they were overloaded to one side, then you try to counter on the other side. And I thought Celta did a pretty good job with that game plan as well. Gerard Martin and Koundé also weren't at their best in that first half, so I do want to go to tactics board to break that down a little bit more. Most of the Celta attacks are coming down this left side, which by and large is pinning Gerard Martin a bit farther back. And Ferran Torres is so far in the middle of the field, it does leave Martin over on an island a bit. And De Jong and Pedri, defensively, they're having to cover a lot of space horizontally, which you would expect, but it's an interesting shape that Barcelona are in. De Jong is kind of just supporting Pedri here, and he's not even dropping in between the center backs, which I think Barcelona would be wiser to have De Jong drop in the second half more. Instead, De Jong is kind of just supporting Pedri here in a role, and I'm interested to see the ball recoveries from that first half between the two of them. Hey, so you're saying Hector Ford can be an option at right back? I don't see that happening. But you're seeing the difference here, right? Balde can command a left side all by himself, but Gerard Martin just can't do that. That's the problem. He just doesn't have the foot speed to make up the ground. And then I think the Rafinha Ferran Torres switch is kind of a problem because Rafinha is just a better defender coming to help that left side than Ferran Torres is. Ferran Torres, when he sets up in the middle, he stays in the middle. When Rafinha comes in the middle, he goes back out wide. That's the difference. And then you also have on this side, I mean, Koundé, especially as that half went on, I think this is on purpose. Koundé was getting forward a lot more. And now, I think in the second half, what you're going to see more of is third man runs, either from Fermin. Again, if Rafinha is going to drop in like this and allow Koundé to get forward, you're getting Koundé either out wide and trying to go around, and then Koundé has also come into the middle a bit. So I think that right side for Barcelona is going to be essential because you're losing so much on that left side with Gerard Martin not really being able to hold width when you play him with Ferran Torres. 43rd minute, Celta on the counter again. As I will reiterate, they were the better side. Yes, the away side. The men from Galicia were better in that first half. Idas Moriba, the former Barca boy, gets a shot off here, and the rebound is also saved by Szczesny. Szczesny didn't have his best game either, but the guy still makes 1 or 2 important saves that can help you get a result and keep you in a match, which is what, now in hindsight, these saves did. 45th minute, the front three of Barcelona showing that they didn't have their best in that first half, but they did get some chances. This Ferran Torres shot was probably the second best of the bunch, other than the goal, but it goes too far. As I said, Barcelona outplayed in the first half, but more worryingly, not offensively even, but defensively, 5 shots for Celta de Vigo, and all 5 shots on target. You got to batten down the hatches a little bit. Headline 3, Iglesias exposes the Blaugrana. This was a problem that continued from the first half into the second half. Mingueza comes on for Celta de Vigo, which in theory makes them more defensive, but if anything, it widens Barcelona out because now with Mingueza being such a threat on that right side, he's able to get forward a bit more, and that pushes the line forward even farther to just kind of be a winger. That meant that width-wise, Celta made the adjustments, and Barcelona in the middle channels, sure, they were starting to figure some things out, but out wide, the problems continued. And when you stretch a team out wide, that means when you have possession in the other half of the field, you got to throw bodies, not just more bodies, but you got to throw bodies farther forward. So the farther Martin and Koundé were pushed forward, the more dangerous that Cubarsí and Inigo Martinez and the space that they then had to cover against Iglesias. 52nd minute on one side, Fermin got some space, but he knocks it right at the keeper, and then Barcelona are put to the sword after this. Iglesias gets a brace, and it's one ball that beats Barca. Here's why I'm worried about things like this. Again, Inter Milan, they probably could have had more goals here. Celta, they were clinical in the opportunities they got out on the counter, but these counters were way too easy. So Hansi Flick is definitely going to need to look at this because you've got your, we'll say, starting 7 against Inter Milan and Real Madrid in the Copa del Rey final this weekend. That's going to be the first choice 7. Keeper to the 2 defensive midfielders. That's a concern, how leaky they were on the counter today. The second goal, a lot of it goes on De Jong. He and Inigo Martinez, the miscommunication, they both misplay it, and Iglesias is onside with the bouncing ball. Can't happen. Easy finish for Iglesias. After that, I thought Barcelona responded well, but Celta then had the best next chance. Pedri gave it away. Doesn't happen often, but when he does, Celta de Vigo off to the races. 59th minute, we knew they were coming. It was just a matter of when, and at that point, even down 2-1, Hansi Flick didn't want to worry about it. Lamine Yamal and Olmo come on for Ferran Torres and Fermin, but that didn't matter because in the 62nd minute, the high line still not working out. The 3-1 through Iglesias gets his hat trick because Olmo this time misplays it. And it's actually just a clearance. That's what it looked like. It didn't even look like a long ball. It looked like a clearance. And because Iglesias is onside, he gets his hat trick. Both Cubarsí and Inigo Martinez were in Celta's half of the field. So I think even if Iglesias hadn't been onside for this, it still would have been onside because they were in the opposition's half. And Iglesias just way too much room here, and he gets his hat trick. And at that point, all the alarm bells were ringing. I didn't even check social media at the time, but I could tell you that people had jumped off the bandwagon. People had jumped off the ship. Even in the watch along, I was just trying to, plug these holes in the ship and say, hey, everybody, just relax for a second. There's still a lot of time left in the game, and Barcelona has now added some really fantastic attacking pieces, so everybody calm down. Headline 4, super subs Olmo and Lamine Yamal. They were the difference here. Once Lamine Yamal came on the field, structurally, Celta, if they weren't tiring because they had less than 30% possession anyway, they also then had to begin to shift players over to the Lamine Yamal side of the field. Rafinha also looked much, much more comfortable on the left side, and he could also help Gerard Martin defend as well. That meant more overlapping runs for Gerard Martin because Ferran Torres was in the middle of the field so often. Can't have Ferran Torres be in 2 places at one time. And that extra attention to Lamine Yamal, that allows Olmo the space he needs to get this second goal. Because Lamine Yamal is also coming over to the middle, and with Celta not knowing who to guard in the central channels, they were trying, that being Celta de Vigo, to keep Barcelona wide, but it wasn't working because Lamine Yamal can take on 1 or 2 guys in a way that Rafinha just couldn't do on the right side, and Ferran Torres wasn't doing on the left. You also don't have a wing back in Gerard Martin who can do that either. So Lamine Yamal, you finally got somebody to dribble at the opposition, and it works to great effect. Lewandowski drops onto Rafinha, and then it's Rafinha giving it to Olmo onto the run in half space, and well finished by Olmo to make this 3-2. And at that point here, I want to remind you, we're saying, all right, Barca just get 1 point out of this match and get out of this one alive, where Liga could still be up for grabs for you, and it will come down to El Clasico. Because that was just a 3-2. Then the 68th minute, belief changes even more. The 3-3. Lamine Yamal, it's a cross in for a Rafinha header. I would love to give you some big tactical breakdown here, but no, this is just Lamine Yamal, good on his crosses, find the head of Rafinha as he and Lewandowski both made runs to the back post. So Celta de Vigo, young defense too, by the way. They had 2 21-year-olds in their starting lineup at the back. And it's a reminder that Celta de Vigo, as confident as they were going forward, the minute you get young players on the back foot on the road, hey, it could really help you out in your mentality. So Lamine Yamal, that cross is just, it's too good, and it's 3-3. 78th minute, Lewandowski is forced off. I'm recording this, and I know it's going to come out later, but I'm recording this before I know the status of Lewandowski. Didn't look good, though, but it looked like he kind of understood what it was. So hopefully, even if he has to miss Mallorca on Tuesday, he can return for the Copa del Rey on Saturday. We'll have to see. You probably at this point know more than me. But that meant that Gavi was coming on. And Gavi playing that false 9, very interesting. He got his time under both Koeman and Xavi playing as that inverted left winger. And hey, he and the rest of that Barcelona forward core at this point, Gavi didn't play as a midfielder. He just played as a forward because he was farther forward than Dani Olmo, which I think was smart You could have put Danny Olmo as a false nine, but no, it was Gabi as a false nine and then Olmo underneath him, which I think worked really well because of how much better Olmo is in tight spaces when Celta were trying to collapse everybody in the midfield. And the pressure that Gabi was putting on that Celta back line, at least on the corner, it led to just a near miss at the near post on the header. Good delivery here by Rafinha. But yeah, Gabi could have made this 4-3 at this point, but let's keep going. Because headline 5 is mentality of champions. I might have already used this, but hey, it is a good sign that I have to reuse good positive headlines and mentality of champions. Hansi Flick decides to go for it. Gerard Martin and Kubarsi coming off for Eric and Pau Victor in the 87th minute in the final dying embers of the game. And speaking of embers, Barcelona were also playing with too much fire late in this game, but that's what happens when you take off more defenders and throw on players that are going to play farther forward. Koundé with a really nervy pass. Then Mingueza almost scores the winner on a header. What a story that would have been. And if Fer Lopez, the young player who came on for Celta as a sub, if he doesn't take such a heavy touch here, Celta, they have the winner, but it doesn't work out for them. Iago Aspas also wasted almost 2 minutes in stoppage time with his histrionics that got both he and Rafinha some yellows. That's the moment when I'm like, oh, Barcelona going to run out of time. It's not going to work out. But hey, if anything, that galvanized them. Don't ever fire Rafinha up. Just don't do it. 95th minute, here it is, the moment. Olmo goes down in the box. I thought initially, I had said on the stream, I didn't think it was enough contact, at least in the back. I thought Olmo might have gone down a bit too easy, but then we get to see the replay. Yep, 100%. Easy penalty. His right foot just gets completely taken out there at the calf. Easy call for the ref, as I said. Who, by the way, yes, the last 5 minutes, it was just chaos. It was havoc. There was a lot going on, but I thought the referee had a good day. I will say that. And so this PK, very little, I think, for anybody. The pundits and Real Madrid, people in white, will find something to argue about when this penalty, and in regards to this penalty, but no, this is a penalty that Rafinha gave me absolute heart attack. By the way, yeah, let's go to Dan in the pass on the watch long because I think he actually said this a bit better than I could. Is this the biggest moment of the season? Biggest moment of the season. I think, yeah, right? Up to this point. I can't look. Okay, I can look. I'm not looking at chat. Not looking at chat right now. Rafinha. Oh my God, so many steps. Woo! All right. So many steps. Oh my goodness. So there's the 4-3. And at that point, you knew that Barcelona had completed the comeback. They completed the remontada, and you could see what it meant to them. Rafinha, Hansi Flick, post-game, that image with those two hugging, that sums it up to me. I think they know just as well as we do that Barcelona, as bad as they were in this one, they've had the right mentality to win the Liga. I still don't know about the Champions League. Copa del Rey, that's still just 90 minutes. But these are the kind of games that we've been saying all season long, winning the Liga. And I've said that, I feel like, enough times. Yes, El Clasico still up for grabs. But if Barcelona can go into El Clasico up by at least 4, and if Athletic Club tomorrow can help them out, because I'm recording this at the moment, it's 7 points. So Athletic Club, you could do Barcelona a big, big favor with that last El Clasico of the season in the Liga. Won't matter. This was truly a season-defining win. I know you keep saying that, but in seasons when you win trophies, you've got a lot of season-defining opportunities, and this was exactly that. So awesome stuff. Hopefully Athletic Club take care of business against Real Madrid as you're watching this. And as always, until next time, you know what? I always say Forza Barca, but how about this? Never surrender. Do not give up. Really, do not give up. This is a fun, enjoyable team. I've been telling you all season long. Just enjoy the ride. Yes, there were roller coasters. Yes, my stomach was going through knots. My heart was racing. But please, Kool-Aids, not every season gets to be as fun as this one. Enjoy the ride. And as always, until next time, Forza Barca.